We're going to start off by wiping our saves, and then we're going to go in with a clean game. We're going to bake our cookies Secret Agent style, MIB style, and have Agent R be our main baker. So, I've decided to start playing Cookie Clicker, and as the goal, I want to see how long it's going to take to get to the true Never Click achievement. This will not be a speed run. The part of the game I'm interested in is how long will it take to ascend to 1,000,000 cookies from the point when I can buy my first pointer. And as you can see, the game starts us off raw. We just get a frenzy, which doesn't produce anything for us. So we got to wait for the second cookie to come along. Click that one. We get 13 cookies, which isn't enough to buy a pointer because that requires 15 cookies. So we got to wait for at least the third frenzy to come along. And for those of you who don't know, true Never Click achievement, you can't get by clicking on the main cookie. You're forced to use these golden cookies. And so there's my third one. Again, another frenzy. It's just the way it goes. And so this run winds up testing my patience as I go through it. It took me 29 minutes and 9 seconds to get to the point where the game really started. Because, the first one was a frenzy, second gave me 13, third one here is a frenzy. Right, gotta wait for that to kind of run its course. And then I'll continue to give you the narration as we go. And due to the amount of time it takes to get started, I have decided to spare you the tedium by kind of cutting through the video and just capturing all of the clicks. So what you will see as a 1 hour and 17 minute run and 49 seconds gets cut way down, right? Because it's not a record-setting time. If you want to try and go for the true Never Click and you want to try and do it as a speed run, you're going to have to start off with 2 cookies that both yield 13 right out of the gate. And then from there, you can work on your strategy. My strategy in this particular game is going to be to buy the cheapest item I can all the way through, because I think this is the fastest way to run the game. So here we go. Here's our 4th cookie, and it gave us another set of 13 cookies. That'll let us get our first clicker, and now we're doing a whopping 0.1 cookies per second. But it's enough to get us our second pointer and get us up to 0.2. So we're really kind of cranking along at this point, setting a blinding pace. Here we go. Third one, 0.3, 0.4. And so, it keeps building this way, right? The goal is to keep going after those cheap pointers, because really that's all I can afford. And if I try and go after anything that requires like 100 cookies, it takes way too long. We got a frenzy. Frenzy's got us up to 4.9 cookies per second. And this is where the game really kind of starts to pick up its pace, because with the frenzy, I'm getting cookies faster and faster. Yes, the cost of them increases, but I'll just keep adding on those pointers because they're cheap, right? And it's not taking me all the way to the 100 cookies that it's going to take just to get that first grandma. And right now I'm producing 6.3, or now a full 7 cookies per second. Granted, that's in the frenzy, but I'm going to milk the frenzy for all it's worth. I'm checking to see what the cost is to buy pointer upgrades and other stuff, right? So that I know exactly when I want to try and look at buying that stuff. So here we go. We're coming up on... we must just passed another cookie, another pointer click, and now I'm waiting for 81, which just came and went. Now we're waiting for 93 because we're up to 9 cookies a second. And as you can see, it's building very quickly. I'm able to add, there goes another pointer, right? And I'm up to 9.8 cookies per second. Frenzy's about to run out here in the next probably 5 seconds. And so we go ahead and purchase the first grandma because she's cheaper than the cursor. And so, and then we went ahead and bought the pointer upgrade, right, which doubled the speed of the clicks, or doubled the number of cookies per second per pointer. So we went from 0.1 to 0.2 per clicker. And so, right, we just keep adding on to those clickers, and right now we're going to toggle back and forth in between grandmas and cursors as the cheapest items in the game. We're up to 5 cookies a second without a frenzy. And so, in the early stages, right, it's moving through. It takes a considerable amount of time to get this done. But it is, just absolutely riveting gameplay, right, over the course of what has probably transpired as close to a half an hour at this point in real time. So it really is. Actually, it took a half an hour just to get through the couple of golden cookies, so I'm probably approaching the 50-minute mark in actual gameplay as we begin to bounce back and forth, and we get things like hardcore baking, right? We're getting a lot of achievements here, but it's, we're up to 10 whole cookies, 11 cookies a second. And so what starts to happen as I'm walking through the whole entire process is, right, I'm sitting here and I'm clicking cursor grandma, right? There goes lucky cookie with 23 cookies. Would have rather had a frenzy at that point, but hey, it's doing what it's doing. One of the things I did notice as I was continuing to play the game was that I was getting a golden cookie on average about every 7 minutes throughout my gameplay. So if you're looking to try and kind of time things, it's about every 7 minutes. I did see one cookie that took as long as 9 minutes to appear on my screen. So it can take a while. But for the most part, if you start looking right about the 7-minute mark, sometime within 2 minutes, you will see a cookie appear on the screen. So, kind of key that you're timing the game if you're trying to run it to any type of pattern, and you're trying to make time and go for a speed run. If you're just playing it through to try and figure out the best way, this is a way to go through. Okay, so the price of the grandmas and the cursors are starting to climb up there. Right, I've additionally bought an additional cursor upgrade, so my cookies should be producing 0.4 cookies per second. Right, so it's made a huge difference in how many cookies they can produce. There goes another golden cookie and a frenzy. Right, so now we're producing 186.2 cookies per second. We are cranking. And so now I'm going to buy the last few cursors and grandmas, and there's an upgrade for grandma to double the speed of them, because I'm up to 16 of them, so they're going to now produce, 32 cookies, 17 of them, and things are going to move quickly. Now I've added my first farm, and so each grandma is now producing 14 cookies a second because of the upgrades, and 2.8 cookies per second for the cursors. Right, and that's only because of the frenzy, right? It's changing the dynamics of the game so that things are producing at a much higher rate than they ordinarily would. Because, like I said, it should be 0.4 for the cursor. It should be probably 2 cookies a second for the grandma right now, and for the farm, I think they typically produce something in the neighborhood of maybe 8 cookies per second. So we're up to, now you can see we're up to 700 cookies per second, approaching 800 cookies. So it, was cranking along during the frenzy. It helped us progress rather rapidly through the number. And let's see what achievements we pull. Lucky, bought the farm, and steady stream. Right. And so steady stream was for over 100 cookies per second. So each one of those frenzies very quickly makes it so that we can progress through the game. But again, I'm sticking strictly to my strategy of, cheapest item helps me progress the fastest through the process. What I do have to say, truly, as I look at what was happening here in the game, at this point I start to realize that it may not have been the best strategy to just shoot for the cheapest item. But to shoot for the cheapest item until I got to the point where, say, I could get a frenzy, or I may even want to take some time and do some calculations and see how many times do I have to be purchasing a lower tier item before it becomes worthwhile to purchase the higher tier item that's going to produce faster, right? So the cursors are producing at a very low rate, even after being upgraded, right? They're 0.4. And so I have to have enough cursors by really 1.5 times the amount I had to begin with before it's just worth it to buy one grandma and have her right at one cookie. And so it means that I need 10 cursors to produce as much as one grandma. And so very quickly, it's not worth the money to be buying those cursors. They eventually just became a drain, because at this point, right, I can be buying grandmas and farms for less money, and I'm at 115,000 cookies baked, right? I could be buying grandmas and farms, which produce far more cookies per second than the same cost for a cursor. So there's got to be a point at which it becomes beneficial to jump to the next level and pay the additional money rather than continue to buy what's just strictly cheapest. And I think that if I remember from playing the game, it was something in the order of magnitude of 3 to 4 units would be purchased, and then it was time to jump to the next level. Because anything more than that, you were just expending money on something you didn't need. So, like I said, I'm going to go back. I'm going to try and do some calculations, see what the next strategy is for me. But the other thing that I learned through going through all of this was that I'm certain that there's info inside the game files. And so I've asked a friend of mine who's a programmer to take a look at the game files for Cookie Clicker, another frenzy here. So now we're producing over almost 2,000 cookies a second. But I've asked this friend of mine who's a programmer to look at the game files for Cookie Clicker and see what goodness lies inside it and what can be learned and extracted from the game to understand what the fastest way is to ascend. And so once he comes back to me with his information, I will definitely produce another video based off of the data he gives me. If I'm waiting any length of time, I may produce another video with what I can glean by basically taking the numbers that I find in the game, running them through Excel, and trying to figure out what the fastest way is to ascend based upon the mathematics that I can come up with in a simple spreadsheet. So here we are. We're a good chunk of the way into the game at this point. I have to say that we're a solid probably 50 minutes into the game, right? And we've got 4,500 cookies per second being produced. We've gotten all the way to the point where we're buying mines now at almost $20,000, right, per item. And again, I'm sticking to that strategy of, okay, I am only buying the cheapest item. But like I said, I can tell that it's slowing me down. At this point, I can dramatically tell that it's slowing me down. And so, right, I keep going through and I'm buying, but I'm spending a whole lot of resources, right, the cookies that we're producing, on buying cursors, grandmas, and farms at this point, when I really should be investing that money just into factories, right? Because here we're looking at things that are upgrades that are ridiculous numbers that I'm not going to get to, because by the time I reach 1 million cookies, I should have True Never Click. And so, dropping 21,000 on a cursor that produces 0.4 when I could have a mine that, if I remember correctly, produces something in the neighborhood of 14 or 16 cookies a second, it's just not a worthy spend. But like I said, going through and following that methodology, saying that that's what I believe produces the best result, play it out and see what I get. And definitely playing it out said, yeah, you don't get what you want, but you can make it to the end. And so as I continue to dig my way through this and, make these choices, one of the things that I'm looking at here now is, how close am I to that million cookies? I'm 790. I'm wondering to myself, can I cross that 1,000 cookie a second barrier before a million cookies are baked? Right? It's kind of like, if I can kind of move this along, can I get there? And I think I can, right? It's close enough that it's something that looks achievable. And so there goes another farm onto the list, right? Grandma's cheapest. Next up is going to be a mine. And I think the mine is going to, gets us real close to that 1,000 cookies. Cursor is not going to do it, but right now it's the next cheapest item. And then, let's see, next one up is going to be a grandma. How close are we? 942. Ooh, it's going to be close here. Trying to cross that barrier, and okay, there we got a grandma. We're at 992 per second. Oh, this is going to be really, really close. Can we sneak in a quick farm buy before we hit a million? How close are we? 964. Okay, it looks like we may have... Oh, it's going to be real close. Okay, 992.8 cookies a second. 40,000 cookies approximately to go. We'll be lighting up here in the next couple of seconds. Okay, there it goes. Let's buy the farm. And there's the achievement for Cookie Monster that just appeared. And at any moment, we should be seeing the achievement appear for the True Never Click achievement. Check. 1 million, and there's True Never Click. We got it. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe. I appreciate it because I'm in it for the views.